these are the best recasts in EastEnders history. Obviously, hello, I am Piggy. This is Piggy right now. Say hello, Piggy.
Hello.
See, there we go. There we go. There's Piggy. And today we're going to talk about the best EastEnders recast. Now, obviously, I was recasted just there a minute ago, but the original one came back to say this. So I don't know much about the recasts. I know obviously the Ben Mitchell ones, but obviously this most is going to be Ash discussing them because he knows a lot more recasts than I do. I only really know Vicky Fowler, Lauren maybe, and all the Peters and all the Bens. Except Joshua Pascal.
You can go for the absolute original, the one that people cease to forget happened.
Peggy
Mitchell. She's the biggest recast in history. Sorry to spoil the video immediately. It's Peggy Mitchell. Dame Barbara Windsor made this role what it is. She embodied the character. It wasn't really a step down. It didn't feel like a step down for her to be Peggy Mitchell because she was a prominent figure the entire time she was there. So many fantastic moments. A lot of them really proving that she is like one of the best. And yeah, and I guarantee though, even though people would complain about the recast if it was nowadays, people would absolutely howl about Peggy Mitchell. And even she had a pretty rough run when she initially joined the show. Why? Because she joined the show and it also culminated with the Mark Fowler HIV storyline, where she was a big fucking villain in that story because she was being ignorant and she was judging him and she was treating him wrongly because of his like medical condition. But you know, Barbara Windsor made the role what it is. She is one of the most iconic EastEnders ever. She is top 5 unanimously. She is truly tremendous. And to think that she was recast in the role, she wasn't even the first choice for Peggy Mitchell, shows that sometimes recasts are actually worthwhile. Because ultimately, they brought a whole new lease of life into the character and took Peggy Mitchell from someone who nobody gave a solitary fuck about into one of the most popular characters in EastEnders and soap history.
Yeah,
It's a wild time.
I do agree with that because I don't really know much about the original Peggy. I don't. People can like correct me down below.
She just wasn't that interesting. That's the problem.
But I'd assume it's kind of like, I know people can't get mad at this comparison. I'd assume it's kind of like the Elaine comparison, where obviously the original was more like different compared to the newer version, and obviously Peggy had a lot of great interactions with like Frank, Pat, and so forth. Like my one wish I wish we got, but obviously I think she was on a break at that time, was obviously just the show off between her and Den, because it's my top. Like, I know we got the show off between Phil and Den, but my top wish would have been Barbara Windsor versus Leslie Grantham, just in like.
Now, obviously, people are gonna say that Doctor Who episode where it's a spirit, and Peggy says something like, "Den Watts, the only spirits we serve in this pub are gin, whiskey, and vodka. Get out my pub!" Fantastic.
It's just fantastic.
It's one of the best like soap cameos ever. It's fantastic.
But like, I mean like a proper like one. Like, I know we technically got it when Chrissy watches Barry and Den Watts, and Peggy goes, "Chrissy, you're a murderer. It's just Barbara Windsor as Peggy. I can't see anyone else play her. That's the problem. But obviously, to me, the best Peggy scene is the one with Pat at the very end of her life in the show. It's a sad scene, but it is the modern day example of Ethel and Dot, and that's why I love it. Like Ethel's last scene. Well, the other recast that I really enjoy is obviously Harry Reid's Ben Mitchell. Like, he was fantastic in that role. I think he done great. Obviously, he started out as, I think.
I mean, especially considering the previous Ben.
What's
that? Like, Harry Reid is a really, really good Ben. He brought back some of the life. He brought back some of the joy. He brought back some of the love towards Ben. Because he was a guy who made some mistakes with his life, And he still had some issues, but he was working hard to make it better and live his life to the fullest. And it was him finding out about his sexuality, rekindling his stuff with Kathy, and it was a really, really good time for the character, especially after Joshua Pascoe, the previous Ben, who obviously turned out to be a fucking prick outside of the show. But even him, he was a much colder, much more meaner kind of this. Not to say it was a bad angle for Ben, because it was a Ben who went from a naive, innocent young boy who had to grow up really, really sharply and fucking hated everyone who put him there. So he did play a much more interesting, darker Ben, and then Harry Reid kind of took back the joy and made him much more interesting. And it's not to say, I still don't think that Max Bowden was a bad Ben. I hate how it has to come up every single time. But just in case people radically think, I still really think Max Bowden was a good Ben. I just don't think the direction for that Ben was the best. If that Ben got 3 less storylines across the entire thing, it probably would be fine. It's just, it was storyline, tragedy. It's like, I don't fucking want this tragedy. More tragedy. It's like, can Callum get his sport? Tragedy. It's like, fucking hell.
Yeah, I do agree on the Ben Mitchell one. Wasn't Lauren a recast, or am I wrong?
No, yeah, Lauren was a recast. It was initially played by, I think it's Madeline Duggan, who played a slightly younger Lauren, and it seems like she was given that kind of. She was given the we need to grow her up a little bit more, so it was given to Jacqueline Josser, who she does embody the role. I don't think it would have been that drastically different. I don't know why she was necessarily recast, but she has definitely made that role her own, and obviously had the biggest storylines with Lauren to date being her alcoholism. So, say what you will about the Lauren character, Jacqueline Josser has made no illusions as to who the main one is. I mean, similar to Peter Beale, right? Peter Beale has been recast up, down, left, right, and centre. And then they bring back the original one. Well, I say original. The main original, teen kind of boy to teen. It's wild how that went. It's kind of mental how they really wanted to do something with Peter. And they really wanted Peter to be a character they wanted to invest in, but they just couldn't get the right fit. Because you have all the different iterations of it. You have tall Peter, who was a fucking hunk, and he was very tall, but they wanted to make him Dire Ian, but it also doesn't really fit because he's also a brick shithouse. It's they want to make him a weasel like Ian, but he's a brick shithouse and he's stunning. A weird bit. Ben Hardy Peter wasn't too bad either. It was a decent iteration of Peter as a character, and obviously he's gone on to do much better things in EastEnders.
Can I just say something on Ben Hardy? My favourite thing is I was watching the trailer for the Queen documentary Bohemian Rhapsody, and I think it's the drummer Ben Hardy plays. But I'm looking at this drummer, right?
He plays the drummer, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I'm looking at the drummer, and I'm like, I have a tab open on my browser, and I'm stop now. I have a tab open on my browser, and I'm looking at a photo of Ben Hardy's of Peter Beale, and I'm looking at the drummer that he plays, and I'm like, is this the same guy? And it is. But I think we all forget the first recast.
Yeah, he's been getting some new roles and stuff.
I think we all forget the original recast, the first ever recast, which was, I believe, Mark Fowler. I believe.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily the first one, but it definitely is it's definitely one of the earlier ones, because obviously David Scarborough, he had a troubled start to life on EastEnders, to put that mildly. There's a much darker story about it. I'm sure we'll cover it at some point because it's a really interesting story. But he didn't really acclimatize to EastEnders, and Julia Smith was a bit of a taskmaster. She was a bit of a control freak, or at least that's how it's dubbed, and that's how a lot of people talk about her. She was like a genius, but also you piss her off, you're probably not coming back. So just like how 2 characters who did disappear earlier on, like Nick Cotton, she went, all right, Nick and Lofty, they're going to be gay, and John Altman goes, it's probably not really what Nick would do. And she goes, we are not coming back. And that's why Nick was perpetually in and out the show, never really stuck. And because David Scarborough had a pretty rough time acclimatizing and he refused to racially abuse Kelvin Carpenter in script, she went, you're never coming back fully. And he kept trying to come back. He did keep trying to get that role again, but ever since he was just never really given that chance. And then he died in tragic circumstances. But they kind of re-established him as Todd Carty, who did take over the role and had more time in the role overall. And he did kind of right some of the wrongs, and they really did carve out him to be the character they probably would have wanted. It's just a shame that it had to go that far to get there. But he really did do well in the role of Mark, and he probably is the definitive Mark.
Yeah, like my thoughts on the original Mark Fowler is, from what I've seen of 85, I love him. I honestly think, especially when it's a new show, I honestly think to have the balls to stand up to the person who's paying your paychecks that early on into your show.
In 85 as well. In 85.
Yeah, in 85, like
new unknown actor, 1985, and the BBC. Mental.
Like it's like if you want to know, he basically his life was tragic. I believe he was found at the end of a cliff in like 89 because the press just hounded him, and which is very tragic. But it's
a really dark story. Honestly, like, it's really sad what happened to him.
Like if you really want, I really do want to.
There's also, as we'll reiterate, there's also a really good documentary. It's called My Brother Mark, I believe. It was made by his brother, and it details the story of him being on the show, and it's a really good documentary. Everybody should seek it out. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, so seek out the documentary. It'll really explain the story better than we could.
Yeah, and obviously I like Todd McCartney's, like McCarthy, whatever his name is. I do like his version of Mark. He's the first one I see when I think of Marx, sadly, but I love it. Because I just think of him pushing Nick off the whatever it's called on New Year's Day 01. Just I love it. I don't really know much more recast. I'm trying to think of ones here. No, I can't think
other recasts. I mean, you can just see a bunch of different stuff. Shirley was originally cast as, is it Lorraine Salter? And then eventually, she, she played 6 episodes as a character called Linda Salter in the 90s, and that's Linda Henry. That's Shirley Carter as a different character. Denise was a character who was singing, and she jokes that she can't sing. Like, there are a bunch of characters who appear as extras but never really find that role. Like, it's always very funny when they do this. Like how Karen Taylor was originally a character called... She was Lindsay Bragg's, like, mum, who she basically played Karen, but with a different name. It's always funny how soaps work with this, because because you can always prove that you have potential. You can always prove you have potential as a big character, and sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes it's not the right story, etc., etc. So I do think we probably run through some of the best. I won't lie. Like, a lot of these are quite hard. Sam Mitchell, all in all, Daniela Westbrook was a good 90s Sam. She never should have played Sam beyond the 90s. At the end of the day, the troubles took over, and Sam Metcalf, is that a name? Is she actually called Sam? I think I'm mixing up. Kim Metcalf. Kim Metcalf played Sam Mitchell really, really well and took over the role in 02, and then played it for 3 years, and then came back in 2022 to 2024. She's a really good actress in the role of Sam, and I believe she is the definitive Sam Mitchell at this point, simply because it's too jarring. It's too jarring to have Danielle Westbrook. Like, everybody says, like, it would be if she, like, had everything got back together and everything fell back into place. It's just not happening. Kim Metcalf is the definitive Sam Mitchell and should be respected as such.
And without further ado, if you like this video, would like more topics on this, please let us know down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Bye bye.